is the thing I want my lenders to do is to give me a modification so I have a long-term strategy to hold on to these homes.
'Tis the season for giving. Good luck with that. But now let me get members of the Real Deal Squad. Let them straight at you. Greg, why don't you start us off? You have a question for Terry?
Yeah, first of all, if you're cash flowing these homes because you invested wisely, then why should you get this modification simply because the value of the home went down? Hey, I'd love a loan modification.
Great question. Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, I have option arm loans on these homes, so I have a 5-year window that I get a minimum payment. After year 5, I go to an adjusted payment that is a fully indexed payment, which will basically double my payment. So I'm trying to be proactive to adjust these loans now so that when that 5-year hits, I'm not looking at double payments versus what I pay now.
Steve, is he doing a good thing or bad thing here? Talk to Terry.
I think that this is perfectly legitimate. Here's a guy who's paying his mortgages, is paying his bills on time. He looks around, he sees Obama's plan, which benefits those who don't pay their bills on time. So he's saying, I've been doing everything right. Let me try to benefit here a little bit. And the government is telling him, no,
the system.
only
That's
for
part of what
people
got
who
us
are
in
in
this problem.
foreclosure.
Tanya, come to my rescue here, dear. Come on, Tanya. Sorry to call you dear. Sorry about that.
I think that you can call me dear.
Go ahead.
I think that he's the exception rather than the rule. I think most people who are doing loan modifications are doing it to save a primary residence. I do think that, and frankly, by the way, I think these modifications can be a good thing. I think that just like Citibank and other banks got in trouble and got some taxpayer help, I think those same taxpayers, sometimes not just because they were trying to flip or whatever you all want to say, or being greedy, some people just got into some trouble.
Leslie,
like lots of players in the economy,
Terry,
and they needed to get some help.
Just stumbled into some trouble.
Leslie, this nice gentleman, Terry, has the money to make his payments, and he's going to stop. You think that's a good thing to do?
I don't know that I necessarily agree with the strategy, but personally having that 5-year arm on my own home, I did push my lender, not with that strategy, for a modification. I got one, and what it did is it put me into a 30-year fixed at a lower interest rate than the market has currently than when I did it at the beginning of the year.
Whose fault was it, Leslie, that you took a 5-year arm? Whose fault was that? Was it the bank's fault, Leslie? Did they trick you into it?
Mine, absolutely, but it's also my responsibility to look at, can I pay for the home? Do I sell it in a bad market? Do I try and hold on to it? So I think he's being responsible. I just don't agree with the strategy.
Let me agree with Leslie for a second. Let me just agree with Leslie for a second. I'm so glad I can agree with her, because she's right. Listen, if the banks want to voluntarily modify a loan with somebody, fantastic. The problem is when we start trying to force this, because a lot of these banks now are waiting to see everything the government's going to give them, so they're not doing all the modifications and changes that maybe they could do.
100%. 100%.
They got taxpayer money. They got taxpayer money. They got taxpayer dollars. Taxpayers are entitled to something.
Everyone.
Tanya,
this is a win-win for everyone.
Speaking of these banks and the voluntary decisions that we should allow them to make, they got taxpayer dollars. They got some of my dollars, they got some of yours, and so we're entitled to some taxpayer dollars.
So now we got sick and tired of hearing this. They got taxpayer money, and now let's dominate them like they're our little pup.
Now let's drive them into the ground. This is a win-win. Americans hold on to their homes. Americans hold on to their homes, and the lenders keep getting paid. If you were to take my home and put me in foreclosure, they would lose their shirts, and the lenders are for every foreclosure in America.
That's up to the banks.
It is better to keep the customers now. It is economically better for our economy, for the American people and the lenders in the long run.
This guy isn't doing anything wrong here. He's trying to benefit as a responsible homeowner, multi-homeowner, the same way irresponsible homeowners are benefiting. That's the only thing he's trying to do.
Terry, it's so nice to come on and let us beat up on you a little bit, but don't you think you are doing something wrong, Terry? You're gaming the system, man. You're one of the guys that contributed to inflating the housing bubble, and then Congress wants to blame the banks that gave you the money.
Dennis, I disagree. Let me first say that I'm trying to be proactive. I've been trying for 2 years to modify my loans. In fact, one of my lenders, GMAC, actually did that a year ago. I've got a 5% fixed for the remainder of the loan. Every payment I pay principal and interest. That was a loan modification that's worked. I'm neutral on the property. I'm making my payments on that property. I initially called Washington Mutual. Now I call Chase. I call them on a regular basis. I get someone who's getting paid minimum wage who says, we can't do anything for you this week. Next week they'll say we can do something for you,
Right.
but
Terry,
here are the rules this week.
A quick question, Terry. How much money down? Did you have to put 10, 20, 25% down? Did you get any of these homes with 0% down?
No, I did 10% down. So I did an option arm first with a 10% second behind it.
You know what? You know what, Dennis? So Gary is showing us that if you do pay your mortgage on time right now, you're a chump. You're a sucker.
Amen.
You should let it go
Amen.
late.
See,
That's
he's
the whole
gaming the
point.
system.
My whole
That's part of
point.
what's wrong with the entire thing. All right, real dealers, thank you very much. And a special thank you to Terry for coming on. Awfully nice of you, sir. And good luck